Hey guys, SoCal Val here. You are listening to the Hitting the Turnbuckle podcast.
Good evening and welcome to the Hitting the Turnbuckle podcast. It's Sunday over here in the UK. It is sweating hot. You may be able to see it on my head. We moan in the UK when it's hot. We moan in the UK when it's cold. It is very hot right now. I've got a light shining on me as well. But I am joined by my good friend and colleague, Dave Robinson. Dave, are you as hot as I am?
I am, mate. Yeah, I'm enjoying it. I absolutely love it. I've had a great weekend. I've seen some great wrestling. I've been to an indie show, BCCW show on Friday night, which was awesome. So yeah, I'm in great spirits, man. I'm looking forward to the conversation tonight with our guest.
Yeah, me too. Very much so. 4 decades, different characters, all different in their own way, and also portrayed a little bit of Doink the Clown as well. Very briefly. Yeah, very briefly. It is the you may know him as Knuckleball Schultz, the Goon, the Brooklyn Brawler. It's Steve Lombardi. How are you,
Abe
sir?
Knuckleball Schwartz, don't forget him.
Abe Knuckleball Schwartz, we're not going to forget him. We wouldn't forget him. How are you though, Steve?
I'm doing fantastic. Great to be here, guys.
Thank you so much for coming on. First question, Steve, is a general question that we always ask our guests, and this is more about, we don't know how much wrestling you watch nowadays, but what do you make of a product in general in 2023?
Well, 2023, I watch wrestling when I can. I do many autograph sessions. I'm going to Fort Lauderdale on Tuesday. There's 4 wealthy men that are paying me a lot of money just to go to Fort Lauderdale, and they want me to tell all the stories that you're about to hear.
Brilliant. Well, that's
so you're going to get it in advance.
Even better. We're even more privileged about that, Steve. So thank you for coming on, and we really appreciate your time. Going back to all these different characters that you're portrayed, Steve, they're all different. Kimchi. I forgot. Who could forget Kimchi from Kamala? Going back through all of those, how they're all different in many different ways, like I've already mentioned. Did you have a personal favorite? I know you was Brooklyn Brawler for probably the longest, but did you have a personal favorite out of the 4?
Well, I started as Steve Lombardi, and then from Steve Lombardi, I was learning to wrestle because I kind of hung around the wrestlers, and then I actually fell right into it and started doing television and they used the word jobber. Yeah. Now, in those old days, they thought I was losing. You know what I mean? Yeah. But they didn't realize what I was doing is enhancing every wrestler. I was making the wrestlers. I was hiding their weaknesses, and I was accentuating their strengths. Yeah. So my job was to make the star.
Certainly was. And you've done a good job at it.
So what happened was, as I was going on as Steve Lombardi, I was getting better and better in the ring. And then finally I got booked. We were doing it in Allentown, Pennsylvania and Bethlehem, Pennsylvania. And I would wrestle everyone. Now, when we were doing it in Allentown, we'd film 3 weeks of television. So the people sitting in Allentown who were watching the event, they looked at me like I was Superman because I would come out and I would wrestle Roddy Piper and I would take his finish. Then like an hour later, I would come out with Iron Sheik. I would take the camel clutch. Then an hour later after that, I would wrestle someone else. And so to the people sitting live, I was Superman. To the people at home, I was the guy that lost all the time. So I was like a hero in Allentown, because how could he be strong enough and powerful enough to take every one of those finishes and keep coming out fresh as a daisy?
Yeah, it's very true. That is very true, actually. Do you have a favorite opponent, Steve, over the year? You've wrestled loads. I mean, we could list them all, but is there one particular one or a couple that stand out to you in different, like, for example, Bret Hart was always one that we always get on this show. They always says he's the guy that sets everything. You could literally go to him. He's got it planned out like a story before you even get there. Do you have a couple of favorites in mind?
Well, one of my favorites would have to be Dwayne Johnson's first actual appearance ever in his life. Now, I don't know if you watched. Did you watch the episode of Young Rock season 2, episode 8?
Yeah.
Now, that is very accurate. I know him since he's about 10, 11 years old. And they asked me to wrestle him. And when he walked out to the ring, they were booing the hell out of him. And it was very accurate. I just said, shut up and just listen to everything I tell you, like you could see in the series. So when they went out, they were saying, get the hell out of here. We don't know you. Go back to Florida. You're a nobody. You're a nobody. So then when I came out, they booed the hell out of me. So he was kind of like mixed up, you know. He figured like the people hate me. I said, just shut up and watch what I do. So we go in the ring, and he was very athletic. So he would do a bunch of fancy little moves, this and that. Then all of a sudden I got heat on him. You understand the word heat, right?
Yes.
I got heat on him. I was beating the hell out of him, and then all of a sudden I got him in a reverse chin lock. Then he whispers up to me, "What do we do now?" I said, "You shut up and listen to see if the people care about you." And then if you watch the series, you can see in the dressing room, it's very accurate. The other wrestlers were looking at him, hoping he failed, because they figured that he's going to take my spot. So what he did was he started raising his arms slowly. The people start clapping. They're coming up. I said, okay, this is it. This is the comeback. Make it good. You know what I mean? It's exactly the way it was in the show. And then he threw me in. He gave me a backdrop. He did the clothesline. He did a nip up, which Vince wasn't happy about the nip up. He's like, why do you have to do that? But he showed his athleticism.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He hit every spot. There's a lot of spots that were different. Actually, we did a double leapfrog in the match, but they didn't show that in Hollywood. But it was amazing. I got that. He said that was the first time he was ever in front of an audience in his life. He sent me a giant picture with a picture of him hip tossing me with $7 in the glass, and in gold on the bottom it says, "Steve, thank you for everything. I had $7 in the bank when I had this match with you."
That's awesome. What a story that is.
What a story. I mean, and people that are booing him saying, get out of here. I mean, now look at him.
Oh, he's worth almost $1 billion.
Yeah, unbelievable. Hopefully as fans, we would love one more, that music to hit one more time. And, you know, hopefully maybe it'll happen. Who knows? But Dave, over to you. I'm not going to talk all night. Go for it.
Yes, Steve, you said that you were enhancement talent, and you kind of took that role to the next level, in my opinion. But listening to you and in other interviews as well, it appears that you had absolutely no ego at all in a world that was full of big egos. What do you credit that to? What made you understand that philosophy so early on, which made you so good at your job?
Good question. I had the mentality in the beginning of everyone thought I lost. The other people, like names I don't even want to mention, the other enhancement talent, they cared about getting the offense in, looking good, looking this. I cared about making my talent. That's why they changed it from jobber to architect of the business. Yeah. So anytime there was a job to be done, I did not care. I did not take any privileges. I didn't want to do anything that they wouldn't allow me. But there was one particular talent that changed it all for me. And that talent was Ricky Steamboat.
Oh, yeah.
Ricky Steamboat comes into the company. Now I'm wrestling every hour, 3 hours of television in Allentown. Now they put a paper on the wall. It has all the names, and it's got Steve Lombardi against Ricky Steamboat. Now, Ricky's first day in the company, I never dreamed I'd wrestle Ricky Steamboat. He was so over in the Carolinas, and I said, "Mr. Steamboat." He goes, "Call me Ricky." I says, "I just want to let you know, sir, I'm working with you tonight." He goes, "I just want you to know one thing. I do not beat a dish rag." I said, "Whatever you want, sir." He goes, "I'm going to give you a match, which gives you a lot of offense, and I'm going to sell for you like I would in a normal match." He goes, "Because I do not beat a dish rag." So all of a sudden, this is the first time we're going from squash jobs where I'm getting beat on purpose, which I believe I deserve an Oscar in wrestling for convincing the people that I actually was losing, because half the people I was losing to, I could beat up in real life.
Yeah.
So Ricky Steamboat gives me the match. So he's all of a sudden he's leapfrogging me. I'm putting the brakes on. He turns around. I close on him. I beat the hell out of him. I throw him in. He's selling for me. He's doing all this for me. And all the boys are in the back watching a monitor, and they're looking at this and they're going, "Holy shit, Lombardi could work." And then I come back to the dressing room, and then I remember Tito Santana walked up to me. He goes, "How did it feel?" I go, "What do you mean? How did it feel? It's the one guy that actually showed everyone how it's supposed to really be done."
Yeah.
And after that, all the wrestlers started giving me more. And as time passed on, I mean, do you want me to stop it? Or do you want me to just continue?
No, you keep going, man.
You keep going.
Captivating.
Yeah. As time went on, there was a few years past. Bobby Heenan comes up to me.
Oh, I love Bobby Heenan.
Bobby Heenan comes up to me, goes, "Hey kid, you know how to work now. Now we're going to teach you how to make money. You're going to be in my family." That's what he said to me. I go, "What are you talking about?" He goes, "You're going to be part of the Heenan family for the reason that all of my family are busy with other opponents." And it was Andre, Kurt Hennig, it was Rick Rude, all the top boys. So I'm going from developmental to now I'm in the Heenan family, because Terry Taylor was in the family and he had a beef with Bobby, and Bobby had nobody for him to work with. So Bobby picked me, he handpicked me, and he says, "We're going to call you the Brooklyn Brawler." And I commend Bobby for giving me that name. And the funny thing is, Bobby had a vision of the Brooklyn Brawler. One time we were in Hershey, Pennsylvania, and Bobby goes to me, "Come out back with me." He goes, "You see that mud on the floor?" He goes, "I want you to roll around in it." I said, "Bobby, come on, stop joking around." He goes, "I want you to roll around and get filthy and grimy, because I want you to be a grimy Brooklynite. I don't care about nothing but you kick ass." And that's the story of the Brooklyn Brawler. But the way it started was on Prime Time. Did you see Prime Time?
Yeah, we vaguely got it over here, but yeah, we did get it in the UK.
That's how the angle started with Terry Taylor, where Bobby was doing the commentation with Gorilla Monsoon, and then he would pretend that he was going to shake his hand and make up with him, and he slapped him. Then I come out, I knock out Gorilla Monsoon, and then I beat the hell out of Terry Taylor. I throw him into it like a file cabinet. I slammed him into it, actually. And then Bobby's telling me everything to do. Take a hat, whip him in the face, do this, do that, do this. The funny thing is, when I put the hat on and the Yankee suit on, people thought it was a different person. They could not. I remember going to Madison Square Garden for the first time, and people going, "Oh, can I have your autograph? Can I have your autograph? What's your name's Brooklyn, right?" And I'm saying to myself, "You idiot! I was Steve Lombardi. I've been on TV for 5 years." It's so ironic. It's so ironic, the visual aspect of the character, how it changes the perception for the people. It's amazing. It's amazing.
Yeah. I was going to ask you, Steve, about your image, because I was introduced to you in the late 90s. I'm a kid of the Attitude Era. And I was going to ask you about the grimy jeans and the ripped shirt, but that was all Bobby Heenan's idea then?
It was Bobby Heenan's idea. He says, "Rip up your shirt," and this and that. He goes, when you were in a promo and they ask you about your ripped shirt, you tell them, "Yeah, that's when Randy Savage reached up and he grabbed my shirt and it ripped. And then when Hulk Hogan snatched my shirt, and that other rip is from that. And all these rips were from the different top main eventers that were grabbing me." So we used it as almost like a prop to tell these stories.
That's brilliant. One guy in particular, because you did mention entrance presentation. I always gone about this, and you did wrestle him a couple of times. Was The Undertaker, and I grew up. So I was born in '84. I started we got it over here in the late '80s, early '90s. And I remember when he debuted, obviously, Survivor Series in '91, and it was like, oh my God, what is this guy? Because he changed his presentation. Because in other places, he was me, Mark Callison, and bits and pieces. But you took him on. What is it like? And I think I've asked Matt Cardona this. When you're standing in the ring, that music, that eerie music hits, and you've got this big 7 foot, near 7 foot dude. Literally, he's not even like, he's slow walking. He's got that big presence about him. What is that entrance like when you're in that ring?
It's like amazing. I mean, the reaction to the people is incredible. And the fact that I'm in the ring with him, and I think you could even find it on YouTube or something. Yeah. But there was a point one time where he would be sticking his opponent in the body bag.
Yes.
And I said, Mark, do me one favor, just keep it open about an inch because I'm claustrophobic and I want to just breathe. He said, no problem, brother. And then he did that. Then he would put me on his shoulder. Then he would walk all the way back to the ring. To the dressing room. But the loudest reaction ever that I've ever heard or had out of every talent that you have ever seen is Hulk Hogan.
Oh yeah, no doubt.
Because I was, when I was Kim Chi, I was managing Kamala.
Yes.
And I was wrestling as Brooklyn Brawler the first match. Then I was wrestling as Kim Chi in the main event with Kamala.
Yes. And
Kamala would totally, it was funny because, I would talk to him, ooga chaga, ooga, ooga. And he would answer me in the same way, ooga chaga. Then he would walk over to me at the corner of to the apron, and he would go, Kim Chi, I forgot what I was supposed to do next. And that voice. And I said, James, they go to slam you, you don't go up, you do this or whatever it was. Then after he walks away, I go, Babagooga, Gaguga, push him away. People don't realize we were actually talking normally while I was on the floor and he was in the ring. But I would always come in so Hogan wouldn't beat him. Then Hogan would take me and beat the hell out of me.
Yeah. Brilliant. Hulk Hogan has been notorious for amazing pops, I suppose we called him from the crowd. I never forget the one I never was him and The Rock at WrestleMania.
Oh, that was amazing. Montreal.
Yes.
I was there. That was magic. That was complete magic because Rock was at the top of his game. Hogan was at the top of his game, but he was still over.
Yeah.
But when he got in the ring, it was like magical. It was magical. But the funny thing about Hulk Hogan is he took a liking to me, and he actually asked Vince if I could travel with him everywhere.
Oh, really? Yeah.
So I traveled with Hulk Hogan for probably a year and a half or 2 years. And I could actually attribute Hulk Hogan to meeting my wife. Wow, because my wife, we work in Detroit. My wife's from Michigan, and she was renting the limousines at the Detroit Metro. So I would do all the paperwork and all the stuff, and Hogan would stay behind. So what I did was, what Hogan says to me while we're in the limo one time, he goes, brother, I know you like that girl. I know you really dig her. Take her out tonight in the limo. And that's where it all began. You know what I mean? I asked her out, and then I said to her, do you want to go out tonight? But it's going to have to be like at 11:15 because we're in Joe Louis and Cobo, wherever we were. And then I came back. I kept the limo, took her, and we went out.
Incredible.
The rest is history, as they say over here.
39 years, November 18th.
Wow. Absolutely fantastic. 39 years. Dave, you're getting married soon. 39.
Yeah, we're getting married in around 18 months. But
not we.
Not
you
me.
and your girlfriend are getting married very soon.
Challenge you to break my record.
There you go. You got
thanks,
challenge,
man.
I got mine lasted about a year or so mine didn't work. So haven't got long to beat me, Dave, but you got something.
You didn't have Hulk Hogan as a wingman. But Steve, getting back to your career, and as I was saying about your job and how you did it, I don't think it was any kind of accident when you ended up in a match against Triple H. It was 3-on-1. It was during the Attitude Era, and you teamed with Kaientai, and I think, even though in wrestling, in life, 3 against 1, you'd always back the 3. But in wrestling, you still think the 1 has got a hell of a chance, particularly when it's Triple H. You told such a great story in that match. And obviously, you ended up actually picking up the 1, 2, 3. And because the way you'd performed over the years, I think that was a bigger shock. So I think you being so good at your job made that an even bigger moment for Triple H. Can you tell us a little bit about that story and how it all came together and what your memories are of it?
Well, as you could see in the match where Triple H was selling too, I
Yeah.
gave him in the match, and I was like a ring general. I was saying, do this, do that. I was telling everybody what to do.
Yeah.
And basically, he gave the pedigree to both Kai and Ties. And then he went to go give it to me. And then Jericho hit the ring and gave him a bulldog. And then I pinned him 1, 2, 3. And all I could hear is Michael Cole going, I can't believe I'm saying this. The Brooklyn Brawler just beat Triple H on SmackDown. I can't believe I'm saying this. Then we went back to the dressing room. I said to Hunter, I said, Hunter, thank you very much. I beat you. He goes, yeah, but you needed Jericho. But I replied, yeah, but you need a sledgehammer. Not the way, in a funny way. You know what I'm saying?
Of course.
Yeah. Brilliant. Triple H is, I mean, obviously now he's a lot more involved behind the scenes, doing so much great stuff. Because I mean, WWE, we're just going to talk about WWE now in 23. They're doing amazing job, record numbers everywhere they go. They come over here, 2 shows, SmackDown, Money in the Bank, back to back, record numbers. It really seems like at the moment there is this massive momentum in wrestling in general, but WWE just keep on doing these numbers, and they're just growing, and obviously the acquisition from Endeavor, but they seem to be on fire at the moment.
Oh yeah. Well, what part of England are you in?
I'm near London, and David's near Birmingham.
Okay, because last time I was there, I was in Manchester.
Okay, yeah.
For that one, what's the name of that event? It's
For the Love of Wrestling, is it?
Yeah.
I love wrestling, yes. Yeah.
Love of Wrestling. I was right next to Hacksaw Jim Duggan and Virgil, and actually Hacksaw hospitalized this week. You know that,
Yeah,
right?
I saw his wife posted up. He's doing a lot better, and hopefully, he'll be on the mend again.
He's a great guy. He's a great guy, and my prayers are with him. And I'm sure he's going to be okay. He's a beast. He's always been a fighter. He's always been a fighter.
He has. He's been brilliant. Going on, you're talking about story. What's like a really funny road story that you could tell us?
You want a good story?
Yes, go for it.
Here's a good story. We're in Madison Square Garden. There's a battle royal.
Yeah.
Now, I'm in the battle royal. Ken Shamrock is scheduled to win the battle royal.
Yeah.
So now Ken Shamrock wrestled in a match earlier that night. He injured himself. He injured his sternum in his chest, his sternum. So everybody walks into Vince's room, and Vince and I was with them, and we walked into Vince's room, and they said, Vince, Ken Shamrock can't go over tonight. He's hurt. Vince puts his glasses to the tip of his nose. He looks up. He goes, put over the Brooklyn Brawler. He's local. Now, he wasn't thinking at the time. He advertised the winner of the Battle Royal wrestles the World Wrestling Federation champion in the next Garden show. I remembered. But I said, yes, sir. What would you do? I said, yes, sir. Anything you want. I go out there. I win the Battle Royal. Then I come back to the backstage, and I say to one of the agents, it was Jack Lancer at the time, I said, Jack, do you realize they advertised that the winner wrestles the World Heavyweight Championship in the next Garden show? He goes, you'll never get your match. It'll never happen. It'll never happen. So what I do, I knock on Vince's door. I walk into Vince's office. He goes, yes. I said, Vince, can I talk to you? He goes, sure. I said, I had no idea, but you actually advertised the winner of this match wrestles the World Heavyweight Championship in WWF in the next Garden show. He looks at me, and the glasses go to the tip of the nose again. And I said, here we go. And he goes, you got your match. And at the time, it was Bret Hart. He was the World Heavyweight Championship. The next Garden show was in 2 months. In between that was the Montreal Screwjob.
Oh,
now, think it is now. Now, the Montreal Screwjob, you know what happened, right? Whatever the story is, the controversy, Shawn Michaels is now the champion. Now, Shawn Michaels is not the same Shawn Michaels today as he was yesterday.
Oh, no.
He was a very hard businessman. He was cocky. And I'll say this right to his face, and he'll agree. And I said, I just lost my match, because now I would have to wrestle Shawn Michaels in Madison Square Garden. So I remember I was sitting with Arnold Skolin, and he turns to Shawn. He goes, hey, Shawn, do you know you're wrestling in the Garden? Sean goes, who? He goes, this guy right here. And he points to me, and I go, oh God, here it goes. Then Sean goes, oh my God, can you super kick? Can you leapfrog? Can you do this? Can you do that? He was totally 100% into it. And you could find that match too.
Yeah.
I don't know if you saw that match.
I
He
don't
made
know.
me look like $1 million. He was kicking out on 2.5. It was the first day of DX where Hunter and China were on the outside. China almost killed me with a Frankenstein. I mean, did you watch it?
I have seen it on you. It is available on YouTube. Yes, I have
I've read
seen it.
about
I
it.
think about a week or. Well, I tell you when I saw it, when I was in hospital. When I was in hospital a week, because we had to postpone this, didn't we? Because I was.
Oh, yeah. You're saying that. I hope you're okay.
I'm fine.
But that's one story. You want to hear the Doink the Clown story?
Oh,
Yeah,
yes.
can I just ask before that, Steve? What if Shawn Michaels during that time he was so hard to work? Why did his attitude change towards you? Like, what was it? Had you got a good relationship prior to that? Had you worked together in the past, or why was Shawn so willing to give you that great match?
Because Shawn Michaels is a man that could work with a broomstick. He's one of the great wrestlers I was ever in the ring with, and I think he knew that he could tear the house down with me and prove that he is the best. That's what I believe it was.
Well, so his issues with others then was perhaps sometimes he wasn't confident in their talents and ability, but obviously with yourself, he knew that he could go out there and he could tear the house down in what is your hometown.
He did. It was 23,000 people, my whole family in the audience, and the match I was so proud of. And that's the story of my main event. And the funny thing was, when Undertaker walked into the dressing room, there's a paper on the wall that shows all the matches. It had me on top of Shawn Michaels as the main event, and Taker goes, "What the hell is this?" Because he did the whole story, And I said, "Mark, I have nothing to do with it. I have nothing to do with it." It's the way it turned out. But I was the main event in Madison Square Garden against Shawn Michaels with Chyna and Hunter on the outside.
Wicked.
Now,
Doink, yeah.
Get Doink the Clown?
Yes, please.
I'm washing my car in the driveway. The phone rings. My wife calls me and she goes, telephone call, it's Vince. I said, Vince? I go, hello? He goes, hello, pal, it's Vince. I said, how you doing, Vince? He goes, great. I need you to do something. I said, anything, Vince? He goes, I know I can count on you. He goes, I need you to fly to Calgary and wrestle Bret Hart. I said, I have no problem wrestling Bret Hart. I actually had Bret Hart's debut match in WWF in Cincinnati Garden. I have no problem. He goes, and this is the big one, as Doink. I said, Vince, my only concern is the paint job. Doing that. I mean, that was intricate. He goes, I knew you were going to say that. What we're going to do is we're going to fly you from your house in Michigan to Cleveland, where Matt Bourne's wife is going to give you the outfit. And then we're going to fly you from Cleveland to Stamford, Connecticut, where Jill the makeup girl is going to teach you how to put the Doink face on and give you all the supplies you need to be Doink the Clown. Then you're going to jump back on the plane. You're going to fly to Calgary. Then you're going to wrestle Bret Hart in his hometown in Calgary for the WWF World Heavyweight Championship. And Doink was the hottest heel in the company at the time. So I go from, I'm the Brooklyn Brawler, I'm going to kick your ass, to when I walked through that curtain, the people erupted. Nobody knew. And it wasn't easy. I did it all in 2 days, and I accomplished it. And then that, I started wrestling as Doink the Clown all over the United States, overseas. I remember against X-Pac overseas many, many times, at least 25 times, which is never in Dark Side of the ring. They don't show any of that stuff.
No.
Which I got a little bit of a beef because they left a lot of stuff out. Because they mentioned Ray Apollo. They never mentioned me. And, I find, I got a little resentment for that, to be honest with you. It's like the Ultimate Warrior. I wrestled Ultimate Warrior 40 to 45 times consistently in the beginning. He was the Dingo Warrior. And then one of the agents, which they now call producers, if they didn't change it back, they said to me, they took me to the side and they said, "We're going to tell Ultimate Warrior that you're going to beat him tonight to test his attitude." Now, I like Jim. I got along with him. I don't care what Dark Side of the Ring said. He had a good attitude. I took him to the side in a private room and I said, "Jim, listen, I'm not supposed to tell you this, but they're going to ask you to do a job for me. Please say no problem, anything you want." He does it. I beat Ultimate Warrior. Now, Ultimate Warrior goes through his career. They make him, he beats Hulk Hogan. He becomes a huge star. He does this. Then he gets on bad terms with the company. And now, by that time, I'm dwindling down. Now, I work in a pre-tape room, which is an interview room, and I run the whole room. They asked me to make a DVD, a negative DVD about Ultimate Warrior. Now, I would always sit down and ask myself the questions and put myself in the video, and I talked good about Ultimate Warrior. So now they finally make amends. They put Ultimate Warrior in the Hall of Fame. Now, I haven't seen Ultimate Warrior in years. I find his dressing room. I walk into his dressing room. He starts to cry. He looks at me. He goes, "I just thought about you. I thought about what you did for me, and you took me to the side, and you more or less helped my career. And be prepared to stand up, because I'm going to announce it and tell that story tonight." And I said, "Jim, please do not tell that story." I says, "Because I'm still working for the company, and it's gonna make it sound like we can't tell Lombardi anything because he's gonna go back and tell them." I said, "Don't do it." And he started going, "Can we curse?"
Yeah, go ahead.
He's going, fuck, it was 30 years ago. It was 30 years ago. I said, "Jim, please see my point." He goes, "Okay, but stand up anyway." All right, so he goes out there and he goes, "Where's Steve Lombardi? Please stand up." I stand up in the audience. He goes, "Steve took a lot of my abuse and always kept a great attitude, and I want to thank him for it." That's what he said. And I took a picture with him that day, and he was dead 2 days later.
Yeah, that was hard. I mean, I remember Warrior, obviously growing up for me, was that the whole entrance when that music would hit and he would run.
Oh, he blew up. He would get out of breath too. He didn't have great cardiovascular endurance. I mean, when he got back to the ring, he was like winded. But me too, because I got to keep pounding him in the back, pound him. Then he warriors up and he shakes the rope, boom, 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 and then picks me up and then drops me. I mean, I wrestled him so many times. You don't see me wrestle him once on Dark Side of the Ring.
No, it's quite weird though, because I've seen quite a few of them, and I don't really. I mean, me and Dave are quite advocates of, we don't try and paint anything negative. We like to. It's
negative. I'm telling truth. I'm telling truth, and I'm saying what they're showing is leaving half the story out.
Yeah. That's it. It's kind of like
negativity. They want to paint negativity, and I'm telling you, he had a good attitude.
Yeah.
And Steve, your career in the WWE, as you said, you weren't just a wrestler, you were an agent. You did a lot backstage. I mean, your run in WWE was around 32 years, I believe.
Exactly 32 years.
Yeah. How did you find that role backstage? Because we hear it all the time now, different ex-wrestlers going back into WWE or AEW, and they're taking on that producer role or, that agent role, helping putting matches together, etc. How did you find that for you? And is it something that you would still like to do? I know you're still involved with wrestling now. You still take bookings. Would an agent role at a company such as the likes of AEW, WWE, Impact even, would that interest you in 2023?
At my age right now, I would say no, because I'm 62 years old right now, and I don't really need it, and I wouldn't want to do all the plane trips. I'm even dreading going to Florida this week. But the way it all turned out was, we had various interview rooms, and they were like boxes of there were rooms that were like boxes that they set up, and it was like 3 in a row, and Michael Hayes was running one box. And he couldn't, and the boys would not come in and do work for him. They wouldn't do nothing for him. But I had such a good rapport with all the wrestlers. I told Michael, I said, "Look," I said, "I'll get these guys for you. no problem. So I started getting all the talent for Michael, sending the talent into the room. Michael never wanted that job. So the job translated into me doing the job.
Okay.
And I was doing the interview room. I was doing cold opens. Do you know what a cold open is?
Yes.
I don't.
A cold open is where you take the whole story of what led up to the pay-per-view and we show it in video form.
Okay.
I would do is I would film all these different scenarios with different wrestlers in the interview room, which we called the pre-tape room at the time. And then I would put them on tapes. I would send them back to the office. Then all the executives would edit and put it all together. And then they would, I remember WrestleMania parties and stuff. They would say, "Oh yeah, we see that cold open we did. See that cold? Yeah, you see the 4 hours I did to get all the footage that you get it." I mean, I'm not being negative. I'm being realistic.
No, yeah.
Realistic, because I don't have a negative thing to say about the company. I really don't. I really don't.
Who else
But
was involved with that, Steve, other than yourself?
Say it again. I'm sorry.
Sorry, who else was involved with putting those kind of segments and those recordings together other than yourself? Was there a team of you?
No,
or were you working alone?
Cameraman, I had an engineer, I had a sound man, I had full control. I was the boss. I told them, give me a black backdrop, give me a blue backdrop. The engineer was his name. We called him Prof, for short for professor, because he was very smart with computers and stuff like that. And he would control all these knobs and all this stuff. I had a sound man who would either boom or put a lavalier on him, and we would just do it, And I mean, tasks like the Royal Rumble, get every talent in the whole company in a V shape right next to each other, and all together, and we're gonna get that shot. That's a hard shot. Now I'm talking Undertaker, Hogan, Jericho, whoever was there. I don't remember who was there.
Yeah.
We do it one time, and then my audio man screwed up. There was no audio. We had to do it 2 times, and that's like getting them in there to begin with, and then you got to ask them to come in again. I mean, the stories go on and on and on and on. I've done double shots where we wrestled in the afternoon. We got on an airplane and we fly to another town. We wrestle at night. One time we were on a prop airplane, and I went in the cockpit. The door, there was no door. It was just a cockpit. I asked the co-pilot if I could sit in the seat. He said, "Sure, go ahead." He gave me full control of the plane. He said, "Turn the wheel slightly to the right." The plane tilted. Then I put my hand above and I pretended I was hitting buttons. Undertaker took his hand and said, "You back here now." They were scared.
Yeah.
You said to Undertaker today, "Did Lombardi fly a plane with you in it?" He would say, "Absolutely."
Yeah.
Absolutely. That's another story. I mean, this is what I'm going to all be saying in Fort Lauderdale to all these rich people.
Can I ask you, Steve, in regards to that role, I'm just curious as to how you landed that role. Obviously, you had this keen eye for detail, and it was something that you could just do. Was that from anything prior to wrestling in terms of education or skills that you'd acquired, or was that just for spending time in the wrestling business and the relationship you'd kind of developed with Vince and others there?
There was on-the-job training. There was times where I did something and Vince goes, "I don't want it that way. I want segues. I want this. I want lighting a little different." He would critique it, but I use common sense, and we'd have notes. Do this, do it exactly. And then it would be people that were actually controlling the piece who gives me the direction how to do it. And they would tell me exactly how to do it.
Cool.
Excuse me.
Okay.
So basically, I did it for so long.
Yeah.
I wrestled steady for 17 years, and then I did pre-tape room for 15 years, and then wrestled occasionally during the pre-tape room. That's where the 100 match came up, different things like that. It's I always use an analogy of the movie Rocky. They didn't put Rocky champion against champion. Rocky was the underdog. When the underdog wins, the pop is bigger than if a champion is another champion.
Yeah, and that's exactly what I was alluding to earlier with the Triple H match. And one of your more recent matches, going back now, I think it was the first pay-per-view in Brooklyn. You teamed with Miz and Alberto Del Rio, and you faced 3MB at the time, obviously Heath Slater, Drew McIntyre, and Jinder Mahal, two men that obviously went on to become WWE champion. How did that come together, Steve? And what are your memories from that match?
It was the first pay-per-view ever in the Barclays Center in Brooklyn. Now, I'm the Brooklyn Brawler, so I get a call at home from Vince again, and he tells me, we want you to wrestle tomorrow. They never told me I was going over. So I just figured I was going to go there. I was going to do a job. And then I'll never forget, I was standing in the other room, and Vince calls my wife and goes, is Steve here? Is he here? He goes, yeah, he's on TV right now. I'm in the other room, and he calls me and he goes, you're going to win tonight. I said, you're kidding me. Now, this place is sold out. It's not as big as the Garden, but it's about 12,000 people. And I went in there and beat Jinder Mahal with a Boston Crab. And he never got his rematch. And then he became world champion after that.
Yeah.
And I always teamed him. I said, I'm always one up on you. And Hunter can't match either.
No,
so I'm one up on him. I'm one up on Jinder Mahal. Ultimate Warrior I beat. I had two WWF main events with Bret Hart, one with Shawn Michaels. Not bad for an enhancement talent.
Not bad.
What a career.
What a career. We've got a couple of fan questions before we finish off with our final questions. One of them was, and you may have already said it, what was your favorite arena that you've ever performed in?
I would say Madison Square Garden.
Madison Square Garden. If you had to choose a favorite opponent, because they said you've had a load, who would it be?
Yesterday.
Okay, brilliant.
I never wrestled Stone Cold. I've done backstage scenarios with him, but I got in the ring with him. I would have loved to get in the ring with him. I would have loved to wrestle Chris Benoit. I would have, because he was such a great technician and he was great at his time. And I don't know, because I already wrestled. Dwayne Johnson tops it all. I mean, I wrestled the biggest movie star in Hollywood. His first appearance ever in front of an audience. Come on, that's crazy.
I'll get much better than that. Who was the biggest prankster that you
Oh my God. I would say Owen Hart, who I wrestled at least 50 times.
Yeah.
That wasn't in that show either. That wasn't in the show. I wrestled him as Blue Blazer, probably 20. I wrestled Owen Hart about 20. And Marty Jannetty would have to be the biggest prankster. I mean, Owen was a prankster, but Marty Jannetty, he would stand by the circuit breaker box in the arena. And now he would watch the matches through a door. And as soon as he sees the wrestlers do a high spot, like a crisscross, he would turn the lights off in the entire building. Right during, and then he would turn them on like about 20 seconds later, and you would see all the wrestlers just standing still, like in what just happened. And then one time, Marty Jannetty, and he told all these stories many times. Jake the Snake used to have a big python snake on the road, so he used to carry live rats in a fish tank, like a 50-gallon fish tank, many rats. So I see Marty Jannetty walking into the room. He goes like this to me. Come here. I want to show you something. And me, like a dumbass, I walked into the room, closed the door. He turns the fish tank over, lets the rats loose in the entire building. They scatter. They find every crevice and hole they could get in. There's like a $30,000 extermination bill the next day.
Wow.
And I'm guilty by association. Marty will tell you the same thing today. Anything I say to you now, those people will confirm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dave, final questions from you.
Yeah, I just want to touch on some of those answers, to be honest. First of all, Madison Square Garden. I've had the privilege of being to New York a couple of times, and I absolutely fell in love with the place. But obviously, you're from Brooklyn, and you grew up seeing Madison Square Garden. Did you ever think as a kid that one day you would get the opportunity to perform there so many times?
Well, my dream was, I never thought in a million years that I would ever be in Madison Square Garden. But then my dream became to be there one time, just wrestling in Madison Square Garden one time.
Yeah.
Over 32 years, 52 times.
Wow.
I've won. I've run a battle royal in Madison Square Garden. I've had a world championship match in Madison Square Garden. I've done so much in Madison Square Garden. I loved it.
Was it just as special every time, Steve?
Not every time, because sometimes I would get Bastion Booger, and I'm in Madison Square Garden. What do you know? Not to knock Bastion Booger, but you're limited. You're limited. You know, and he's just coming in. Get Bastion Booger over. Okay. Hide his weaknesses. Everything. Accentuate his weight. There are none. Just his weight. You know. So you would get like bummed out. My first match ever at Madison Square Garden ever was against Mad Dog Vachon. And he gave me so many chair shots in the head, but I was still at Madison. And you know the funny part about it was I was living in Brooklyn, and it was time lapsed where I could leave the Garden, go home, and then watch the entire Garden show live, right on TV. So I could watch it just did an hour ago.
Last one from me, Steve, because the
stories go on and on and on and on. I mean, you'd have to go 4 hours to do it.
Yeah. Well, as I say, last one from me, because we want to be really respectful of your time. And also we want to save some stories for those rich Florida businessmen that you're going to see on Saturday.
You think they're gonna be shocked by all these? Because
some of them, maybe, yeah.
Some of them, yeah.
I think the last thing I want to ask is you've touched on Owen Hart and the amount of times you wrestled him. Last year, AEW started a tournament, and the winners of those tournaments were celebrated. You know, they won the Owen Trophy, essentially, a trophy that's in the memory of Owen Hart. What are your thoughts on AEW doing that tournament? And do you have hopes that Owen will one day be in the Hall of Fame?
I have hopes of Owen to be in the Hall of Fame, and I think Brett does too, because we've discussed it before. I know that Martha, his wife, doesn't want that, and the son is getting older now, and I think the son would want it. I don't know. I don't want to speculate. I don't want to speculate, but I would love to see him in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, and in regards to the tournaments, have you saw any of the tournaments? Do you think that's a good thing? And does that Owen's legacy?
I heard about him. I actually watched my first full AEW show. They got some tremendous talent, and the day of the big guy is over.
Yeah,
the little guys can do things that are incredible. But like Cody Rhodes, I couldn't believe that he beat Brock Lesnar and then he jumped to AEW right after that. I mean, you know that, right? He beat Brock Lesnar in the pay-per-view, Cody Rhodes.
Yeah.
And then now he's in AEW right after the beating Brock Lesnar. So it wasn't planned. You know, maybe it was planned. I don't know, but I'm just saying, what a way to go in there knowing you just beat the biggest star in WWE and you're going into AEW.
Okay, we haven't heard about that.
You haven't heard about that?
We saw his matches with Brock recently.
Yeah, Cody's gone back to AEW.
Yeah, he's in AEW now. He's wrestling, or he either did or he was going to wrestle Chris Jericho because he's the champion there. Chris Jericho actually flew here and did his podcast in my basement.
Oh, did it?
Yeah, right when I left the company, because he's seen the value in it. Some people see the value in things when other people can't see the value in things. Like I always seen the value in putting guys over. Other people never seen that back then. Yeah. They're seeing it now.
Can I just ask you then, in regards to Chris Jericho, in your opinion, is Chris one of the smaller guys? You said a lot of smaller guys now kind of it's been so successful in wrestling, where historically it was the bigger guys. Does Chris Jericho rank right up there in the Mount Rushmore of wrestling for you?
I think it does. 100%. Not only because of his wrestling, his group Fozzy is going to perform at Wembley Arena. Did you know that?
Yeah, we was there.
Yeah, it's happened. Yeah, 2 weeks ago. Yeah,
he did it already.
Yeah, he
done
did it.
it,
Yeah,
yeah.
it was awesome.
Did he get a good response?
He
Yeah,
did.
he did. He did. It was incredible.
Yeah, they had 81,335 people there.
Now, tell me if I wrestled in many. I wrestled in Wembley Arena. I wrestled at Royal Albert Hall.
Yep.
Is that a good wrestle at? That's a small
Yeah,
venue.
it's one of the Wembley
Yeah.
Arena was one as well. It's always Wembley's like the home of England.
I'm sure I saw you wrestle Christian once in Birmingham, Steve.
Probably. I've been all over England many times. I wrestled in London probably 20, 30 times in my career.
Yeah.
I always liked London. One time I was in London, we were stuck there for a week because the IRA bombed the airport.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
What's going on? I don't want to talk political, but I'm just saying, they still do all that stuff going on.
Not so much anymore.
Not so much now. No, it's a little bit here and there, but no, not as bad as it was back then. No.
Yeah, and then Adam Bomb was in the company.
Yeah.
And then we didn't even realize it. Me and Harvey Whippleman, who's a good friend, and we traveled together everywhere, was screaming in the airport, "Bomb, bomb, where are you, bomb?"
Man.
Just the word "bomb" alone is a loaded statement, you know.
Yeah.
But we call them for short.
Yeah. Final question before we wrap up, and you've mentioned it many times, but surely that call from the WWE to induct you into the Hall of Fame must be happening at some point, and obviously you would accept it, right?
I would accept it. I can't see how it can happen because they go by belts that the writers write in.
Yeah.
But they don't go by the accomplishments of the people. And now I think they're finally realizing, like I just did one. I don't know, are you on Twitter?
Yeah.
See my tweet where I said 4 decades, 4 characters.
Yep.
Did you see how many likes that got? That got close to 1,100 and something likes. 4 characters, truly blessed. That's all I said.
Yeah.
And I showed my 4 characters. I must have got at least 100 replies of "You belong in the Hall of Fame."
Yep.
Well, you can add 2 more to that,
You
Steve.
can add 2 more to that list, yeah.
We absolutely can't wait to see you in it.
It's only got people like you that can do it. I can't call up and say I want to be in the Hall of Fame.
No.
But if people vote, make it vocal. But I'm not going to beg to be in it.
No.
But if they said yes, I'd be touched, and the speech I would have would be insane.
Yeah.
Because I would end it with, we talk about belts, we talk about everything, we talk about accomplishments. All I could say is, I beat the game at his own game.
What a line. What a line.
What a way. And what a way to finish this podcast tonight. He beat the game at his own game. # Brooklyn for HOF. Steve, it's been fantastic to talk to you today. Thank you so much for taking up your time.
I hope I didn't
appreciate it.
I hope I didn't disappoint you guys. I try not,
You're incredible,
Absolutely
Steve. We really
not.
appreciate it.
It's been a fantastic podcast. Guys, we'll be back later on this week. We've got another great, we've got a bit of English royalty on this week with Doug Williams. We'll be interviewing him. We're interviewing our good friend CJ Carter at Ignite Wrestle Pro because we're crowning our first ever Turnbuckle champion on Sunday. Yes, we've got a show with Ignite Wrestle Pro. Our Turnbuckle championship will be, the first winner will be there. Me, Dave, and Andy will be there. But guys, this has been Hitting the Turnbuckle podcast for Steve Lombardi, Dave Robinson, and I'm your host, Adam Cousins. Buckle down, stay safe, good night.